Welcome back to our storytelling corner. Tonight, we're taking a trip deep into the Ozark Hills, to a place the locals know to stay away from. This is Chapter 8, The Shadows of the Hollow House. The wind didn't just blow around the old manor at the edge of the Three Brothers Mountains. It seemed to breathe right through the rotting floorboards. It was a place that had been empty since the turn of the century, at least empty of the living. Old Tom Brown pushed open the heavy oak door, and the hinges screamed like a banshee in the dark. Beside him, Doc Holliday adjusted his black frock coat, his silver-headed cane tapping a steady, defiant rhythm on the dusty wood. Cousin Rosemary held a flickering lantern high, her weathered face set in a no-nonsense stare. "I've seen scarier things in a dry well, Tom," she said. "Let's see what's making all that racket." Now, perched on Tom's massive shoulder was Sugar, but she wasn't acting like a kitten anymore. Her fur was standing on end, and her bright blue eyes were glowing with an eerie, unnatural light. She wasn't just looking at the shadows. She was staring right through them. Suddenly, a cold mist began to swirl in the center of the parlor, slowly taking the shape of a tall, gray figure with eyes as hollow as the house itself. It let out a low, mournful moan that made the lantern flame dance and shiver. But Doc Holliday, he didn't even reach for his iron. He just coughed into his handkerchief, a habit of his, and looked the ghost square in the eye. "My dear fellow," he said coolly, "your hospitality leaves much to be desired, and your tailoring is at least 80 years out of date." Just then, Sugar let out a sharp, resonant Siamese yowl, a sound that seemed to vibrate the very walls of the old manor. The ghostly figure froze, its hollow eyes locking onto the tiny kitten on Tom's shoulder. It was as if a silent understanding passed between the sentinel and the spirit. The mist began to retreat, the oppressive weight of the house lifting as if the mountain itself had just let out a long, slow breath. "Well," Tom rumbled, his shaggy white beard twitching with a hint of a smile, "I reckon he just needed a reminder of who's in charge of the ridge." They walked back out into the cool Ozark night, the moon shining bright and clear over Bull Shoals Lake. By the time they reached the familiar porch of the general store, old Grumpy the Buzzard was already waiting for them, perched on the railing. Tom reached into his overalls, pulled out a sleeve of Oreos, and handed the first one to the bird. Rosemary leaned back in her rocker, the old wood groaning softly. "Ghosts are fine for a haunt, Doc," she said, looking out at the peaceful night. "But they don't dance for cookies, and they sure don't know the peace of a Three Brothers porch." And that's where our tale ends for tonight. This story was written and illustrated by A.I. Dude, and we're so glad to share it with you. If you enjoyed this little trip to the Ozarks, make sure to like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter. Thanks for listening.